love your camera, but wish some of the buttons were easier to get to? This is how I fix the situation. I get out my trusty hot glue gun and apply a small amount of glue on the desired button. It makes any button easier to click. Also, it helps identify buttons without having to look. It's non-destructive and protects the text from wear and tear. Mr. Camera Junkie's tip of the day. Alright, welcome one and all to the live stream. My name's Lewis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills and not your gear. Welcome. As always, we had the tip of the day, and today is just Saturday. It's 11 o'clock on the dot, and it looks like everything's going as scheduled. Well, as always, I would like to thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me here, hanging out while we talk cameras. And today's subject is the new Sony 20mm, actually 28mm f1.8. It's a G lens, not a G master lens. And we're gonna get into that. I just want to say hello. I see Randall and Robert. Both of you guys are here. Welcome, welcome. And if you are here hanging out, make sure to leave a comment or a message here in the chat. I'll be getting to that shortly. But a couple of things about the lenses. Well, in general, what Sony is doing with these lenses right now, to me, is pretty remarkable, because of the simple fact that when Sony more recently has been coming up and getting a lot or a bigger share of the mirrorless market and everything like that, Canon as a camera company decided to make this like quote that always stuck with me, which was like, oh, we're not a camera company. You know, we're not a camera company, we're a lens company. We sell lenses and we build cameras to accompany our lenses. Well, it looks like Sony also took notice, because after they said that, you know what, we're pretty much already leading the mirrorless game to the point, and that was just prior to, the new R5 and the new R6 that came out with Canon, which I take nothing away from those cameras. Some people say that the autofocus, which was the big thing, is even better with those cameras. I haven't used them, so I can't say anything when it comes to that point, but I digress. With that being said, this, like I said, I think Sony actually took it upon themselves to actually put that same perspective and sphere less towards the actual camera bodies and more towards the actual glass. So the one thing that was missing with the lenses in the Sony lineup in my belief, was that they were still using older motors in their autofocusing. So now that Sony has actually come out with the latest, and right now kind of like the flagship mirrorless camera with the Sony A1 50 megapixels, 30 frames per second with autofocus, which is just ridiculously mind-blowing. With that being said, the lenses that like the 70 to 200 from Sony is pretty much outdated when it comes to the motors and how fast you could actually autofocus with that lens. Give me 1 second here. My iPad is turning off on me here. So being that said, that the only thing that was actually lacking right now in the Sony lineup was fast glass and quality glass, and it looks like Sony is really just taking that right out, as like not even an option anymore, going from the 14mm, the 20mm, and now the 28mm, all G series lenses. The 14 is G Master, I believe. Ridiculous, which is incredible to see what Sony is now doing with the lenses. So if that were to be an excuse for someone to say like, hey, I'm really undecided or anything like that when it comes to Sony lenses, right now I think Sony is also leading in that department with their latest iteration, especially that 50mm 1.2, the f1.2. I was in a live chat with Miguel Quiles, and he was literally just saying, he's like, sell all your other lenses and get this lens. It is the lens to get, which is tough, but because I'm really fond to my Zeiss 55mm f1.8. I think that's just an incredible lens. I love that lens every time I use it. But I'm kind of hesitant to even like rent the 50mm f1.2, because if I do fall for it, I'm gonna have to then look and find a way to invest into that. So if I haven't tasted that sort of forbidden fruit, I'm kind of good with that aspect and staying away from it. I don't know what I'm missing, and I'm happy in my ignorance, so to speak. So for right now, I'm okay with what I have, but it really does look like I said, that Sony is really putting a really strong emphasis on their like glass and their G and G Master gold, because G stands for gold, so their gold and their gold master series lenses, they're really putting a lot of effort. Now, getting back to this 20mm f1.8, it's going to be weighing around 400 grams. It's 13 elements in 10 groups, 9 rounded aperture blades, a 67mm filter thread, which the filter thread is actually pretty important because comparative to their 14mm, which was their latest lens, you really can't put any filters on it. So this is really looking like it's going to be more body wise, looking like the 20mm that Sony just recently came out with, for the reason that it does have a filter thread. So that means you can put filters on the front and don't have to cut out like little snippets in the back side. It's got a 0.28mm or meter minimal focus distance, so I believe that's around 8 inches, which is really good for a 28mm. And the most like important thing about the G series lenses is the XD linear motors. Those dual magnetic track motors allow these lenses to focus so fast, which is what's most important, because if the lens cannot catch up to the camera, you're gonna have 30 shots a second of, you know, blurry images. So that being said, that's where I think that Sony realized that they were, you know, missing in their department, and I think they're systematically going lens by lens to, you know, like build out their lineup. I think the only thing that would be missing now is something like that. Their 70 to 200, an update to that to see if they're able to make the focusing faster on that lens, and I believe the 85mm. So I think that would be the only two that are kind of missing, that they have not recently updated when it comes to their lineup. And if I'm counting correct, I believe that's they're reaching 80 lenses on the E-mount lineup, which is amazing. Well, with that being said, let me get back to the chat, see what's going on. Okay. Oh wow, look at how big that came out. I had to redo all of my settings here on eCam, but I'll deal with that as well later. Let's see here. Boom. Okay, sis. I do like Sony cameras. Interested in listening tonight. Well, yeah, if you have any questions with the Sony cameras, I'm kind of pretty well versed, but I think I try to be versed in all the cameras. And yeah, but if you have any questions on the Sony gear, please feel free. Randall saying hi everyone. Look at this. Okay, let me try something here. Okay, we're gonna unlock this. We're gonna put this here. Let's see if I could. Okay, and with that, let's try to lock that there and see if the next one comes in the same. Boom. Okay, so he's just saying hello. Randall says frappe mocha time. You want to hear something, Randall? I actually wanted a frappe mocha today. I was fiending one. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go live. I want to get that little extra burst of caffeine. Let me go. I left here at 10 o'clock to go to McDonald's to get a frappe mocha, and I got home without one. That just goes to show you how ridiculous the line at the McDonald's drive-thru was, and it was just, I just sat there and wasted time. It just sucked so bad, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm going home, you know, even though I said like, oh, I'm going an hour ahead of time to make sure that I have enough time, and I still didn't have enough time, just to make sure that I came here and, you know, am on time for the live stream. Lewis, I did my first live stream today after watching you last week. I just did it. That's awesome, man. Oh, I wish. I think am I not subscribed? Look, right now I need to check over my channel. I was speaking to Raphael Ludwig that was in the chat last week. He's not having a problem with his channel, right? But I'm having a problem getting notifications specifically from his channel, which is super weird, because it's registering his channel as like a children's channel or something like that. So even though I'm subscribed to his channel, when I hit the notifications, it does not allow me to be notified for it. So I gotta check for it, but I'm definitely gonna take a look at it. I did catch your last video as well, the one, well, I guess it was the one prior to the live stream. Okay, but that's awesome, man. So how long did you live stream for? That's a good question. Like, how long did you go for? How did it feel? Because, you know, before I started live streaming myself, what I realized was that I loved live streaming already. Like, I was always a participant. I was always in the chat. It's just a part of YouTube, and I guess just social media in general, that I gravitated to. So like, I could be here right at my desk, and I could be doing work, excuse me, so I could be sitting here, right, just doing work, and with doing work I will get a notification for videos, and when they're videos, it's like, okay, when I get time for it, you know. But then when a live stream pops up, it's like, oh yeah, a live stream, and then I'll just click it, and I'm able to continue to do my work while I listen. And whenever I have something to say, I can just pop it into the chat. Absolutely just gravitated to live streaming, and it was just until the end of last year where it clicked, where I'm like, hey, you know what, I could be live streaming. It's just like, and once I realized that I had more than enough equipment to kind of produce the live stream that I would like to have produced, you know, not something just straight from my phone or anything like that, but something more like what you're seeing here. Once I got that, I was like, okay, then you know what, we're doing it. And I did a 30-day challenge where I did 30 days in a row. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk about, because next week, right, I was doing some calculations, but next week's live stream would be my 26th live stream consecutively on a Saturday on this channel, meaning it's 6 months consecutively, which is pretty awesome, guys. I just want to say that. And also an applause to everyone who comes out here every week, you know, just to hang out, you know, shoot ideas, and, you know, talk cameras, tech, photography, videos, YouTube, all that stuff. You guys are the ones that make all of this so much fun. And it's gonna be 6 months already that we've been doing this. It's such a routine part of my life already that, or such an integral part of my life already, that I don't know what I would be doing with my Saturdays, right, if I didn't start. If I didn't go live that first time and then just be completely enthralled with the whole system and being able to communicate with you guys like just so fast. Can't wait. It's been awesome. So next week we're gonna be doing a 6-month celebration. Okay. Manny Ortiz just did a comparison of the f1.2 50mm between the Nikon, Canon, Sony top line cameras. Lenses are same, but to him, the focusing, he gave it to the Sony A1. And that's the whole thing. I think the focusing to the Sony systems is still right now having to do with the glass, and the limitation that Sony was having was most likely with the glass. So how Canon kind of started, and they came out, you know, like guns blazing with their 50 f1.2 and, you know, their 85 f1.4, and people were saying these are the most amazing lenses I've ever used in my life, quoting Tony Northrup. With that being said, I really think that's when Sony was like, oh, so that's the missing piece, let's get to it. And now they have the coatings on these lenses are amazing. Like, talking about Manny Ortiz, like Randall just mentioned, Manny Ortiz himself says he was amazed how he can literally shoot into the sun and have sun directly into the lens and it not wash out the image and still be tack sharp, and that the camera is still recognizing the eye and getting the eye autofocus. That is next level stuff. But with that being said, I'm a firm believer that no matter who's coming out with this technology, right, we're all winners, because it's just like the progression of technology. And if somebody gets something better, then you're gonna have an entire section that's gonna benefit from that. And that's what I said, like the next person to benefit is gonna be Canon, because it's kind of like jumping back and forth, because they just keep raising that bar just a little bit higher each time. All right, Charles is here saying hello, Mr. Junkies. Yes, everyone here in the Camera Junkie crew. Says, I'm on a Canon M50 budget. I'm saving for a Sony A7C. Could take a minute. Hey, it is, but you know what? There's something. Let me see if I still have it here. Yeah. Let me show this up here. Boom. This is the MetaBones adapter. this is what actually did the transition for me from Canon to Sony. Oh look, it's been there so long, it's dusty. Okay, so there you go. It's a Sony back end, and then makes your front end a Canon camera. This Metabones, I did my research, particularly matches extremely well with my Sony A7R2. So this particular setup, the Metabones with this camera, the A7R2, probably gives the best autofocus for the Canon lenses, especially the ones that I owned. So with that being said, let's go to 4 here. Okay. With that being said, that's what allowed me to transition, because my story moving from from Canon to Sony was that I had everything Canon and I was happy. But I love dabbling in the used market with a variety of cameras, and I had a Sony NEX3, and that's probably the worst version of the Sony cameras that anyone could get their hands on, because it was so limited, bad battery life, so many, like everything that Sony has been blamed for being bad for in the past was in that camera. And the lens itself wasn't even the greatest. But I was lucky enough that because I had that piece of kit, I found a broken A6000, and I was able to buy it broken for, I think it was $40. I think he wanted 50, I offered him 40. And the reason why was because the battery itself cost $50 from Amazon. Excuse me. So the battery itself, if I just wanted another one for my NEX3 that was really bad with the battery, I said I'm still saving $10 and I have something to play with. So I was able to purchase that for $40. I disassembled that camera, and with my electronics expertise and know-how and my experience, I was able to put that camera back together and get it working. Like, long story short, once I got it working, I put the one lens that I had, which was from the NEX3, onto that camera, and really didn't impress me much, right? It just didn't, because that lens wasn't a very impressive lens. But the camera did intrigue me because of all of the features and the availability of like the tech that was built into it. Then I got my hands on the Metabones. Once I got the Metabones and I actually put my Canon, which is a lens that I still have because I love 50mm lenses. 50mm is like straight to the heartstrings. So right here, right next to that Metabones adapter, I still have my Canon 50mm f1.4. Now this combination here on any Sony camera, oh, gorgeous. And once I put that onto my A6000, I was completely hooked. I started using the A6000 with this setup all the time, and the Metabones allowed me to transition that. I was able to get good prices on the used market and find all of the lenses that I wanted to get in my kit as I transitioned. So as I was buying the kit that I wanted, I was selling off my Canon stuff, you know, just in a simple passover, and that Metabones adapter was what allowed me to do that. Now the only Canon lens that I have left is this 50mm, just because that's the 50mm. I'll get more out of that lens than I would if I were to sell it, so it always holds more value to me, so for that I keep it. And yeah, and that's pretty much in a nutshell my transition from Canon to Sony. Now if you're budgeting and you're gonna get the A7C, let me know what type of lens you're thinking about getting with it, because that's also important. and you know, depending on exactly what you want, you might not need to go full frame unless that's something that you know for sure that you want. All right. Oh, Charles is giving me a good tip here. What's up? Yes. He says Uber Eats works wonders. It would save me a lot of time, but I wonder how much that frappe mocha would cost me on Uber Eats. I'd never use Uber Eats, but you know, to make sure that I get it, that could be a good thing. All right, Kippy's in the house saying, "Hey, Lewis," and everyone. Oh, Robert said a 3-minute stream, no live view, but lots of views after. It was a quick. Just do it. Awesome, man. My eCam keeps blocking my messages here. Let me change this again. Oh no, I'll leave that alone. I'll work for that for next week. Alright. Google settings, you can set it for adults or include children. Probably you're to adults only. Okay, I'll have to look into that because that could be a possibility. Yep. Alright, let's turn this on. To say thank you to my Buy Me a Coffee supporters. Alright. I definitely have to look into that. It says Charles, so you use Uber Eats then? You will have to live stream from home. That's right, Charles only live streams on the road. He says congratulations on 6 consecutive months of streaming. Yep, next week. And it's amazing because yeah, it's just 6 months of anything consecutively is, you know, they say it takes 21 days to build a habit, so just after 3 weeks you should already be in the habit, you know. But it's a process because it takes a lot to make sure that, you know, just building the subject, what we're gonna talk about, you know, and build it out just so that it's something that I would want to watch just as much, you know. I try to bring as much value as possible. He's saying yes, that he needs to be home. Randall saying hi to Kippy. Okay, he says, you got a question. Lewis, do any software for the cameras that you use on, like, oh, let me read this correct. I got a question. Lewis, do you like use any software for the camera that you use on your cell phone, like remote pictures or video taking? The ones that I actually used are the ones native for the Sony cameras, because Sony has an app that you download. I think it's Sony Imaging or something. I don't use it too much, to tell you the truth. I'm still a bit, you know, like old school with that. I have a well, the A6000 has interval shooting built in, so that's really cool, so that it's constantly autofocusing and then shooting a shot, so that if you wanted to do self-portraits, you could just set it to take a shot every 20 seconds and it's gonna do the autofocus with the whole 9. I still use the remote with the A6100 like I had for my A6000. I have a wireless remote, and one of the tips that I've mentioned before in the past that I used to do self-portraits in that aspect was I was able to put the trigger inside of my jacket, and like when I was just holding myself like that, I would actually like click it, you know, so that you wouldn't see the trigger itself, but you would actually just see me like either holding my jacket or fixing something, and that was the motion that I was doing, just to make sure that the camera is gonna do the eye autofocus and get the nail focus on the shot, which is the most important thing. I have used the interval shooting and it's great for like time lapses, but sometimes it could miss focus just a bit. But as far as that, no. Now another way that I could answer that is that I do have an application that I use completely separate on my phone, which is called Camera Plus. Let me get the name of it. This is pretty much like, besides Snapseed, I don't know if you guys ever have heard of that. That's more photo editing. So after you've taken an image on your phone or, you know, a smartphone, anything like that, that you could actually edit the images, similar to something that you'd be able to do like in Lightroom. If you don't have Lightroom with Snapseed, and Snapseed is 100% free. I also have Lightroom because it's part of the Adobe thing that I have on my phone. And let me see if I can find this camera app. Okay, it's called Camera Plus 2. So I think it's the second version of the program called Camera Plus. And the reason why I have this is because I'm gonna see if I can show it to you. It's gonna look a bit weird. See the inception mode. Oh, that looks horrible on it. But what I'm trying to show, let me see if I can get it to focus here. There we go. Did it read it? There we go. Oh, it switched cameras. Let's check it out. There we go. It shoots in RAW. Yes, so it gives you raw capabilities of shooting on your iPhone, so you're able to pull the files off of it in RAW and then utilize them through Photoshop and get the best quality image that you could ever get out of an iPhone using that application. I can't tell you how much I paid for it, because I paid for it such a long time ago. I think it was even before this iPhone. But it does give you the option to shoot RAW, which is what sold me on it. Everyday Tech, welcome. Says never call me again, Rob. Sorry I missed your live stream today. Great job on hitting that go live button. Awesome. Yes, just we're big fans here of supporting everyone here. You know, if Sly, I don't know if she's here, but if she shows up a little bit later, she's definitely one that's also working on her channel, and we're all, you know, we're all here to help. We're all content creators, and just love the community that we have here on YouTube. Is the best. All right, says. By the way, thanks. So by the way, thanks once again, Lewis, for yesterday. Well, Kippy is talking about yesterday is also another good story to talk about. Me, Kippy, and quite a few others found ourselves on Brandon Washington's live stream yesterday. And like I said, I'm a live stream junkie as well as a camera junkie. So I'm on the live stream, and I think we were there for like an hour and a half, you know, and we're all there, and just like always, we're all, you know, intertwined within the chat, and everyone's just speaking to each other and just having a good time. And towards the end, Brandon Washington decided to do a giveaway of a Hollyland Mars 300 wireless receiver set, so that you can do wireless broadcasting of cameras or pretty much anything over HDMI. Great piece of kit, super cool. And the one thing that he asked, you know, from us was to nominate someone who was, you know, in the chat and that, you know, is basically part of the community. And everyone right away just went into selfish mode, you know, and just went into like, pick me, oh no, I should get it, I want it, blah 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 blah. And I was, guess, one of the first ones to actually listen to what he was asking for, and he asked for a nomination. So I nominated my friend that was in the chat, and I said, you know what, Kippy. And here we go. And he just saw that, you know, I guess it stood out that I was the only one who was actually looking to help someone else out. And that's what, I guess, stuck out, instead of everyone claiming to, you know, trying to claim to the fame, so to speak. And that's where Kippy was selected, and now he's getting a great piece of kit, which is also well deserved. Kippy's got a great channel, so if you haven't checked it out, definitely check out Kippy's channel. I'm subscribed to him, and whenever he puts something out, I'm always there to try to, support. He's always here in my chat doing the same. It's just a great community, and he's also got a great channel. So more power to you, bro. I'm glad that you got it. That was super cool, man, and it's just an experience. I just get the experience of knowing that, you know what, in the future I'm gonna speak to Brendan Washington, and we're gonna be talking about, that giveaway and about Kippy and everything. So alright, so Robert's saying thank you to Patrick. So Patrick is the name of Everyday Tech. See, that's good to know. See, now I know it, and now when I see Everyday Tech, hopefully I can remember, but not hopefully, I will remember that his name is Patrick. Okay, Randall saying Kippy channel. Now that hard part is waiting for the prize to come through the mail. Hey, but that's neither here nor there. It says I'm using the kit lens, the 15 to 45. Yeah, that's great. I actually am working on a video. We're always working on stuff, but I have two computers, and the computer over here, it's literally in the middle of my Final Cut Pro edit. I'm doing a comparison of lenses to do a video test of the A6100, which is what we're looking at right now. So, I can sit there and show you all the tests of like every aspect of the A6100, but one of my models here, one of the models that I base all of this upon, which is part of this story, like when I got the 50mm onto the A6100, you realize like clearly that optics outweigh the camera body, right? The A6100, being a great camera that it was and still is, really is dependent on the glass and the image that you're able to throw onto that sensor. So glass before ass. Optics are always more important than the camera body. So with that being said, taking that to full heart, I know that how can I test a camera for video settings without testing variable lenses? So the test is going to consist of the kit lens, the 16 to 50mm on the Sony, the 10 to 18mm G lens, because it's really not considered a G lens, but it is in Sony's eyes. It's an f4 APS-C. The 10mm is a 15 ultra wide to 18mm. So it's basically a 15 to 28mm lens, something within that range right there. And I was actually very surprised with the kit lens. It held up to that lens pretty much on par. So yeah, but that's the video that I'm working on right now. Just trying to get as much done, not wasting any time, like the time that I wasted waiting for a frappe mocha at McDonald's, but we'll not talk about that anymore. Alright, it says Lewis spelled backwards and said out loud sounds like seal. Oh, the real Raymond. How you doing, Raymond, man? Thanks for stopping by. You got me to read that out loud just like that. Oh, that's good. Alright. Marine X says, thanks for the advice on the 17 to 70mm Tamron, the f2.8. That thing makes my A6600 fire. Absolutely, man. That lens. And the good thing, yeah, we talked about it. The 17 to 70, that's the one that's actually built for the APS-C, right? That's the one with the vibration control. You're set. Yeah, you're going to be so good with that lens. It says, my channel videos are better now and looking... Oh, what did it say? Let's get that back on there. It says, looking at the 11 to 20mm f2.8, which drops soon. Yep. look, if you already know that you got quality lens and that you can trust that Tamron, so you know it's so much easier for you to wait on something that's gonna fill the gaps in your kit, in your set of gear. So I'm glad to be of service, man. I'm so glad that that's working out for you. That's just awesome, man. Yes, sir. Okay, another question. F1.2 better than F1.4, which is better than the F1.8, so why just buy the best one? Okay, well, it really depends, because I would always just pretty much just say F1.2, although being great, not worth the price tag. So, for example, going right back to this lens, going into the Canon f1.4. There is a an f1.2, or better said, actually, like a really good example is the Canon L series 85mm. So the 85mm f1.2, I think, was running like $3,000. The f1.4 and f1.8 were drastically cheaper. I think the f1.4 was like around $700, and the f1.8 was like even $300. So with those prices there, I never saw like the extreme need for the 85mm f1.2 in the Canon back then, for one main reason, which was it was pretty much impossible to get focus on that lens at f1.2. So you're going to be spending $3,000 for a lens, right? Because it can open up to f1.2, but to use it you would automatically have to step it down to f1.4. Why even get it? Then save yourself all the money, get the f1.4, and you start from there. Because if you want to shoot wide open, which I also wouldn't recommend, it depends on the situation, but at f1.4, if you're in very low light, you can get that, and you're gonna get very similar images and save yourself a metric ton, so to speak. So that's what I would always recommend. Right now, the way the technology is advanced, Canon's new f1.2s, no matter which one it is, and Sony's new f1.2s, these things are ridiculous. So if you're talking about the older lenses, I would never recommend the extra stop of light. You know, like even the Nikon Noctilus 0.95, you know, it's designed for night photography, full manual lens, and almost impossible to get something sharp. Full manual to get night shots, like, yeah, for Astro maybe, but I think it was a 95mm, so who's gonna use a 95mm for Astro? Just not sure exactly what are the use cases for some of those lenses. And when it comes to that, I'd tell you the truth, I think 1.4 is pretty much the lowest aperture that I would choose to go to be using like normally. Like this one is an f1.4. When I go to shoot photography and do things like that all the time, I'm using it at f2.8. And even at f2.8 for photography, I'm gonna have to try to like put a really high shutter speed to make sure that I'm not overexposing the image, because the lens is allowing so much light in at f2.8. f2.8 is still considered low light. You know, if you have a 2.8 lens, you can get really good images in low light. And if you have any type of image stabilization, even better, because you can get some really low shutter speeds and get that aperture at 2.8 open, and you'll be really surprised at what you can get with a set like that. And that goes way back. That goes even before IBIS. You know, that's just optical stabilization in any way. So hopefully that answers that for you. But I think for me, I would rather save the money, especially in those instances, unless it's absolutely necessary. But that also brings me back to the beginning part of this conversation, which was the live stream with Miguel Quiles, that he's like, sell all your lenses, like sell all your lenses and get the 50mm f1.2. It's quite a bit of change. So if you do want to support that, you know, you could always buy me a coffee to help alleviate the pains. But I don't know. That's the whole thing. That's why I said ignorance is bliss in this at this moment, where I don't know how good that lens is, so I don't have to. You know, like I don't have to be like, oh, I know that's out there. No, right now that's like a unicorn. You know, like it's a myth. I've heard of it, but I don't have to worry about that. Right now I still get amazing images with my 85 f1.8, and that's because of the high focus, you know, like the telephoto at 85, and that low aperture 1.8 it's an incredible combination. My 55mm f1.8, even at, that's one lens that I do shoot at f1.8 because it's super sharp at f1.8. Every image that I've taken at f1.8 on my Zeiss 55mm, man, that thing's tack sharp. Like it's still considered one of Sony's sharpest lenses. And there's a YouTuber, he's a landscape photographer. He's very funny. His YouTube channel is called Photo Tripper. Yeah, the Photo Tripper. He's a landscape photographer. His name is Gavin Hardcastle. His channel is a trip. But he uses that with his Sony A7R4 all the time for landscape photography. And the images that he gets, I stay amazed. I'm like, that lens is so versatile. It's just so versatile. It can be used with so many things. And to think that he's doing like just like f16 shots, f8s, and getting incredibly tack sharp images that to my understanding, most of the ones that he does with those, he doesn't have to photo stack, so to speak, you know, do the image stacking, and because it's just like one click sharpness. It's a great lens. Alright, so let me see where we're at here. Okay, Kippy saying hi to Randy. Says, thanks, Lewis. You're an angel, man. God bless you. Thanks, man. No, but like I said, it's just you gotta pay it forward, so to speak, and I'm just grateful. You know, I'm grateful for the things that I have. And yeah, I can't complain. Like I was on another live stream, right? Shocker, right? I was on a live stream earlier today, which Brandon Washington happened to be on there too. Were you there, Kippy, as well? I'm not sure, because I see so many of you guys in so many different places. But it was Carlos. Oh, forgetting his last name. I need to get better. I'm going to get better with my names. Carlos Quintero, I believe, is his channel name on YouTube. He held the live stream, and a lot of the same thing was brought up again about what happened with Kippy. It's just super cool to have such a tight-knit community, but yeah, it's just, you got to pay it forward. I'm just trying, like I said, I'm just being grateful for the things that I have, and yeah, trying to just, I don't know, that's just me. So I'm glad that you won. Super excited. Can't wait for you to make a video about that kit once you get it, and I know you're gonna put it to good use. Okay, so totally agree. My B cam is the A5000 with a 35mm f1.8. Gives you great top-down views. That A5000, man, Sony's cameras, and that's what I'm saying, even from back then, the A5000, that's already, I think the A5000 was where the shift really started going into, like, Sony actually has something here, something viable. I was lucky enough to get the A6000, which really did change the game for Sony. But that's also what brings me back to Robert here. He says, I do love inexpensive cameras and I do get good video with it. I got a budget camera and great lights. Well, you see, going back to it, I guess I'll just talk to you as well, maybe, you know, like through a DM or something like that, to see exactly what you're using your camera for, because you might not need to go to full frame. Because if it was strictly YouTube and strictly video, I'm a big advocate for APS-C over full frame. For example, right now in the Sony ecosystem, to get an f1.4 aperture, which gives you this creamy background that we're seeing right here, I'm using a Sigma 16mm f1.4, and this is a $300 lens, used $400 new. To get a 24mm to give you the same image in the full frame, I think it's $1,400 just for the lens, and that doesn't include the $1,800 or $1,700 Sony A7C. So right now, if you were to buy a Sony A6100, it's going to cost you about $750, $800. I was lucky enough that for my birthday last year, I found pretty much a new in-box Sony A6100, and they were selling it for $550. I told them, hey, it's my birthday, can I get it for $500? They said yes. I ran over there and I snatched it out of their hands. Once I got it, I sold my A6000 for $480. So I basically got an A6000 to A6100 upgrade for $20 last May, and that's what I've had ever since. So a $500 camera, and this lens also I bought on the used market and got it for $200 because somebody had placed it for $300. I got it for $200 because I said, hey, you know what, I have $200. If you want these $200, I will take this lens off of your hands. And they said yes, so I got a great deal. But right now what you're looking at is $700 comparative to close to $3,000. So that's where I really advocate more for the APS-C, because even if you didn't have this lens, just to, for example, here, let's change over. This is my Sony A7R II, but I also wanted the wide angle. I wanted the 24mm, but I have it hanging off of my cage, and when I had my full frame 24mm under my, well, I have it here now, which is my 24, let me get it there, 24 to 70, right? This bad boy hanging off of this will constantly droop the camera down, so I wanted something lighter. So what you're looking at right now, this image is the Sony 16 to 50mm kit lens, and that's my B camera, but that lens is on my Sony A7R II. So it may seem weird, but I'm using it in the APS-C mode and it's still giving me this image, the wide image. If I were to be using, even though it's a 24mm, because the lens is physically closer to me here, like this, it gets a tighter 24mm image. So to get the image that I wanted out of this camera, I'm using the kit lens with it right now. So can it be done? Yeah. You know what? Maybe next week I'll run both of them with the kit lens, and I'll just do the stream that way. and you guys can see exactly what the kit lens would look like on the A6100. Let me know if that's a good idea, because I love my Sigma. I just do. Like, I love this lens for everything that it does. Like, I say focus, it focuses, it comes back. It's just, and a lot has to do with the lens when it comes to that. But let me know if you guys would like to see that, because, you know, I would do it. Maybe not next week. Oh, but maybe next week. It's 6 months. We'll do the 6 months in the Sony A6100 kit lens live stream. Oh, we read that one. Okay, so that's exactly where I was at. So I agree about the primes, the f1.4 and above, but I believe that the zoom lenses at 2.8, which covers prime lens range, is already focused but has less bokeh. Yes, I do agree with you, but I think they're extremely versatile. Well, I just showed you right now my my 24-70, and this is the f4. When I'm outdoors, this thing's a beast, because outdoors with so much sunlight, I'm not even running it at f4. I'm using that f5.6 just, and getting great exposures, and you still get bokeh. I do have it on my video talking about how to get bokeh in your images, and what most people forget is that the easiest way to get separation between your subject and their background is to separate your subject from their background. So, you know, it's really hard for you to get a bokeh effect if somebody's leaning up against a brick wall or something of that sort. That's why you would have to, like, take that image at an angle and shoot it over that way. But if you're not doing something like that, it's gonna be impossible unless you actually create the separation that you want to see in your images. Okay, let's see what it says here. What are the thoughts on the Sony alpha rumors that we predict the Sony ZV APS-C interchangeable lens that's supposed to upgrade from the A6600? Footnote: Sony alpha rumors is not the most accurate website. Yeah, I know. I don't. If it wasn't for the fact that I saw images of the lens that I'm talking to you about today, the 28mm, I probably wouldn't even have brought it up. But this camera, it really seems like Sony's going in a whole different direction. They're throwing more like what it seems like to me, it seems like it's more like a A5000 body. So Ex-Marine, you would know exactly that body style. So imagine an interchangeable A5100, but instead of having a direct flip up screen, it's going to have a flip out screen. That is what has been the most concrete of the rumors, and that's not going into specs or anything like that. I do not believe that this is going to be the successor to the A6600. I think they'll come out with a camera maybe next year or something else, and maybe even keep it in the same like number line. If they don't go to the A7000 series, you're going to see something like an A6700, 68 or 69. They have space to play with the name. But this is going to be like a weird missing link type of camera. It's going to be the link in between the ZV-1 and the A6400. The way that I see this camera, and this is my speculation, so I'm taking full credit and full like blame, but this is just my speculation. Where I think they're gonna try to squeeze this camera in is the new A6100, which is gonna be the new entry-level APS-C camera for Sony. I think what most people don't know is, to my understanding, the A6100 has been discontinued, and now like the entry level is the A6400. So now, instead of making a successor to the 6600, which just came out and is an incredible camera, the fact that it has IBIS and all that stuff, I don't think it's going to be the successor to the 6600, because I don't think it's going to have the built-in steady shot. It's not going to have the IBIS being such a small camera. So now the A6100, I was thinking of getting that out. The A6100 is a fixed lens sensor, a fixed sensor camera, so it doesn't have in-body stabilization. All of that's built into the lenses, so on and so forth. So now if you build a more compact version of the A6100, something more like the A5100 body, because the rumors is also that it's not going to have an EVF, so it's not going to have an electronic viewfinder. They're going to save some space there, redesign it. I don't think that if they're making it that small, and Sony proved me wrong, I'll be the first one to keep my jaw dropped, but if you got an A51 type body, I really think it's gonna be really hard to put the in-body stabilization in there, so I don't think that it's gonna be there. I think it's gonna be an interchangeable lens ZV-1, which to me makes all the sense in the world for the market that they're trying to capture. So what the price is gonna be, I think it'll probably be right around there, $750, $800, which is going to be now their new entry level to the APS-C. If you want APS-C entry level, the cheapest one is not going to have an EVF. It's just going to have a flip out screen if you want to vlog. If they really do want to market it towards the vlogging community, they might put in that gyro stabilization, so that you can, get stabilization in the camera in post. But I wouldn't even really guarantee that, because I think they would just pair it with their kit lens, and the kit lens has OSS. So, optical steady shot on the kit lens right there, boom. And that's my speculation of this camera. That's why people are saying oh, it's gonna be disappointing, because it's gonna be like a downgrade from the A6100. It's gonna be less of a camera with no viewfinder. That's pretty much it. It's no viewfinder, and instead of a flip up, it's gonna have a flip out screen, so that they can still use and sell their multimedia interface microphone, so that they can put the microphone. And that's another thing, because Sony just came out with another microphone recently, kind of trying to compete with the Rode Wireless Go. So it is a block that you put into the multimedia interface port on the top of the camera, and then you put one of those kind of blocks here. I think the camera itself also has a shotgun on that microphone, and a reverse, so that you can put a microphone on somebody that you're interviewing, but yet there's still a microphone that is recording you as the camera operator. And that's all going to be built into the left and right channels into the Sony cameras. So Sony is not going to be one to try to shoot themselves in the foot. They've created that technology, so they're going to try to sell that technology, and they're going to try to pair that new microphone, which is designed for vloggers, with their new vlogging camera, which is going to be called the ZV APS-C. God knows what number they'll give it, or the new ZV, or it's not going to be the ZV-1, maybe it's the ZV-6000. Who knows? They can name it whatever they want, but that's what I think is going to be coming from Sony, and that's why I think it's going to be a disappointment to some, like myself, because I prefer flip up screen over flip out, and I definitely need a viewfinder. I will not buy a camera if it doesn't have a viewfinder. It was really tough for me to leave optical viewfinders, but I definitely do prefer the electronic viewfinders now, because I don't have to chimp. And chimping is, for those of you who don't know, that's basically after you would take an image on a digital camera, you would look on the back of your screen to see if your exposure and things were done correctly. You don't have to do that with the mirrorless, because as soon as what I'm seeing through the viewfinder is what my camera's going to record. I see all the levels, I check my histogram, we're in range, we're good to go, click. And that's really helped me in event photography, because with event photography, a lot of people don't want to take photos because they think they're going to have to take more than one to get a good one. I make sure that the first one is the only one that I take, and when they see the images, they're always happy with it. So it's a win-win. Okay, I went on the APS-C rant. Okay, I do not agree with the Sony rumors because they're usually wrong. Yeah, they're like the worst. They change their stuff every week, and then they're like, we got it right. Like, no, you've been wrong this whole time. It says 1 week the ZV2, then the A6900, then the A6700, then interchangeable lenses. You spot on with the Sony Alpha rumors. But I've mentioned that here before plenty of time, that I'm like, I don't really like. You want to talk Canon rumors? Go right ahead. Okay, you want to talk Fuji rumors? Go right ahead. But when it comes to Sony, oh man, Sony is probably the company that keeps it the closest to the chest. You know, that they keep their stuff like nobody, and I mean nobody, knew that the Sony A1 was even in the works. People, like, the week before I did a live stream about a hypothetical camera that was like, okay, real big rumors, like model numbers, everything like that are being leaked, like what's going on, a new camera, maybe it's a new A9 Mark III, and boom, the Sony A1, and it blew everything out of the water. Sony, if we know something about Sony's, you know, behind the scenes, is because they wanted us to know. I'm a firm believer of that. Alright, it says, oh, I didn't see the other live stream by Brandon. Was it today? No, it wasn't by Brandon. The live stream was by, come on, Carlos Quintero. He's a YouTuber. But Carlos was in Brandon's live stream just yesterday as well. So I'm subscribed to both of their channels. So when Carlos went live, I jumped on it today. Like always, when I'm here in front of the computer and I see it pop up, I'm gonna just click into it to see what's going on. And yeah, and that's where Brandon hopped in, and he was talking about how much fun he saw Brandon while bringing people live onto the live stream, that he wanted to do the same. So he started bringing people onto his live stream and doing a live Q&A. Pretty cool. You know, let me know if that's something that you guys might be interested in. You know, with Ecamm, it's something that I have the ability to do. You know, even if you do not have Ecamm, which I'll tell you the truth, if you're thinking about doing anything live streaming and you have a Mac computer, get Ecamm right away. There's probably a link in my video. And if you don't have Ecamm because you don't have a Mac, if you don't have a Mac, then get a Mac, because you're gonna want to get Ecamm. This program is so awesome. It's what allows me to do everything that we're seeing here. And one thing that I also wanted to mention to you guys, my computer's fan is quiet today. You know, there's no issue with the fan going crazy, so I'm very happy because it's being well tempered. I believe the reason that it was going crazy was my mistake, which was the output setting on the computer was still 4K. I wasn't pushing a 4K, like neither of the cameras are giving a 4K image, but my computer was trying to pump out a 4K image. So I'm like, no, let's change that to 1080, which is what I'm shooting at, and now I think the stream and the computer are just working in sync and just working awesome. Okay. Some full frame cameras shoot with crop, which is the same as APS-C cameras. Yeah, my A7R2 right now. And the good thing about it is the R series, the R stands for resolution in the Sony camera world. So this is a 42.4 megapixel camera, and it's what I use for my photography. I try to get the most resolution and the highest quality when I'm doing my photos. That's why I got that camera, not for video like I was mentioning before. If I was only doing video, YouTube, things like that, the A6000, the APS-C is what I would go with. You can save a lot of money on the lenses and get a lot more out of it. Plus, they're lighter and most people are not going to tell the difference in the image. Now, when you put an APS-C lens on the full frame Sony cameras, you are reducing the size of the sensor's output. But the photo sites, which is what consists of a megapixel, so to speak, you're not using all of the photo sites on the sensor itself. So a Sony A7 III, which is a 24 megapixel camera, in the full frame it's 24 megapixels. When you put it in APS-C, you get a 10 megapixel image now. And for video, that's great, because I believe for 1080 and even 4K, all you need is an 8 megapixel image size to be able to render that type of quality. So this one gets reduced to 18 megapixels, which is almost double, so way overkill, and it still gives me a very good image quality even though I'm using it in the 1080 in the APS-C mode. But that's one thing that I love about Sony's ecosystem, that you could literally interchange lenses for your benefit. You know, there's sometimes it sounds weird, but to put an APS-C lens on a full frame camera, this thing will never overheat because you're using so much less of the actual sensor and all of its processing capabilities, that this is like a walk in the park when I put an APS-C lens on this camera. It's just not even breaking a sweat. I just need the camera to make YouTube videos. I may take your advice and may keep it. It may cost me more than my camera, but I don't need it. Yeah, and if you were talking about the Sony A7C, right? If you're using the, you said you were using the M50, right? If you're using the M50 and using the kit lens, that's where I would tell you glass before ass. You can invest a lot less money on the Sigma 16mm f1.4, which is the same lens that I'm using right now for that APS-C camera, and it'll cost you maybe $300-400, and that will greatly improve your image quality and what you're able to produce with the camera that you have already. The one problem, and I'm just gonna tell you this straight up front, okay, Robert, the one problem that I have with the M series is not that you can get the quality glass for it, but for example, I know that even though I'm using the Sony A6100, Sony has and will produce newer cameras that are better in specs than my A6100. So that if it were to break, or I decide to upgrade in the future, and either or, however I want, there are options for me to get the same or better than what I have right now with the camera body to preserve the lens that I love using. With the M mount and the mirrorless Canon EOS M mount, which the M50 falls into that category, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they just killed off that line. Like, they're not going to be making more M mount cameras. And if that's true, it's a little bit tougher to invest into the glass, into a camera that you know has no future in that camera, in that mount, unless that maybe the M50 Mark II. But you see, the M50 Mark II, the only difference between that one and the M50 Mark I is, I believe that it has the ability to be used as a web camera now, without like Ecamm. Ecamm is such a great program that it allows you to even use cameras like the M50 that were not designed for web host utilities, and actually utilize them and get a good clean HDMI image out. So big ups to Ecamm for doing that. Let me hydrate, I'm getting a little bit dry. But yeah, so with that, it's tough for me to say get the Sigma in the M mount when I know that that's the last place that it's probably ever going to be used, because you're not going to use it with any of the cameras. Now, if you're okay with that and know that, you know, kind of like that's going to be a bond that's going to set there and just that'll be it, and if you decide to get another camera, it'll be completely different. It could be a Sony, it could be anything like that. Then I would tell you, hey, the quickest upgrade for, you know, your visuals and everything would just to be getting that Sigma lens onto the camera that you have already. But if you want to get that same image and maybe go into a system where you have the ability to upgrade in the future and continue to use that lens with different cameras, then I would tell you maybe you could be looking into the Sony and go into the APS-C side, because you can save a lot of money. Like, you could get Sony APS-C and know that even though you invest $300-400 on a piece of glass, that lens is going to be adaptable to a plethora of cameras, old and new. So something to think about. Okay, so he says, never call me again. I like exact colors with my cameras. What I see is what I get. No processing needed. Yeah, you know what? Tom Buck, I gotta see if I sent him a message as well to see if that helped him out. I sent him a message about my idea that could help him out, because he was having an issue. He mentioned it, I believe, in his podcast about like the colors that he's getting from the back of the LCD on the Sony doesn't match what he's seeing on the computer, and that's different from his Canon cameras and so on and so forth. So I go into my settings and I change the color space on my camera from Sony RGB to Adobe RGB. Give me 1 second. I forgot that this was on. Everything decides to make a noise when you're live streaming. Okay, so I forgot where I was at. I forgot what I was saying. Let me see if I can go back to the conversation. Oh yeah, that I switch my color space to Adobe RGB. Now, when I've gone out to do photography, I've been able to look at my environment and tune in my white balance to get the back of the LCD to see exactly what I'm seeing. And when I use my light measures, or like my light meters, I'm getting the same exact thing that I'm seeing with my eye that I'm seeing on the back of my screen. So I haven't had any issues with the colors. I personally think that that's kind of the deal with Canon cameras. And I've also mentioned this before, where Sony, on the back of the camera, what you see is what you get, and then when you bring it to the computer, that's what you get and more, because it's a raw file, so you're able to see even more of the file, and you're like, oh, okay, and now I know how to manipulate it. With Canon cameras, in my experience of shooting Canon, I take the shots and I look at them in my camera's LCD, and it's like the LCD enhances the image, almost like if it was like fully done and JPEG'd out. So it looks amazing, and then when I were to bring it into my Lightroom, it didn't look as amazing as it did in my camera, because the LCD was doing all the sprucing up of an image. And that's my experience with Canon versus Sony. Like, Sony may not look that great, so to speak, in the back of the camera, but then once you get it into Lightroom and you do your edits, it's amazing. Canon looks amazing in the camera. When you bring it into Lightroom, it doesn't. It looks more like subdued, like a Sony. And then once you finish processing, it looks amazing again, because you've done your processing looking more to like what you would see in the back of the LCD. And those are my experiences with the Canon cameras. Okay, it says, I've been making videos for 3 months. I'm starting with zero experience and grind to learn. Appreciate everyone here advising me towards success. Hey man, we're all helping each other out. So yeah, any questions you have, you know, like, that's what we're here for. And like I said, I'll probably be shooting you over a direct message, a DM, just to see, you know, just to make sure that I know exactly what it is, because you could already have exactly what you're looking for, and just maybe start saving up towards something completely different because it's something that you want, not necessarily something that you need. Because that's also another thing that I realized, and it was, you know, I want to thank Live Streaming Pros, which is another YouTube channel. They had a live stream that were like the four levels of live streaming. Level 1 was like live streaming on your phone, just go live, and I was like, yeah, that's not what I'm looking to do. And like level 2 is using a web-based application like StreamYard, where you just connect your webcam and you go live, and I'm like, not that either, you know. And then out of 4 steps, I was already like more than halfway, because level 3 was like getting a camera and connecting it, and then doing it with a video capture card and everything like that was more towards the professional level, which is what we're dealing with now, which is full hardware and software combined to get you a good image and a good experience. So, and once I realized that, I was like, man, live streaming is awesome. Like, just, because my first live streams, I had none of this, but now it's just been a progression, and each week I try to get better and better and bring something new, something different to the live stream. Some of the people here in chat was in a couple of live streams where my computer decided to shut down and do updates in the middle of the live stream, and I was like kicked out for a minute and then just popped back up like, hey, I'm back. So we've been through a lot in the 6 months that we've been here live streaming, but it's always fun. It's like, I remember one where I couldn't get the microphone to go for like, I think it was like 45 minutes, and you guys are so awesome that you guys are still hanging out here trying to like troubleshoot the problem to get me to speak. And like after like all that time, we actually figured out to just redo the whole thing live, and that got the microphone to work, and we stayed up here for like another hour and a half after that point. It's just so much fun. I just bought the full frame Nikon Z5. I don't think the Z5 is the Z5? Oh yeah, the Z50 is the APS-C. Okay, so you just bought the full frame Nikon Z5 and the f1.7 crop at 4K 30 plus a 30-minute time limit. But then I stopped shooting the video and start again, and start times again at 30 minutes. Yeah, the 30-minute or the 29:59 limit on all cameras, which, you know, you saying that the Z5 has that sucks, because okay, it shouldn't have it anymore. The reason why that even existed is because there was a law in, I believe, France, yeah, some place in Europe, where there was a law that they would be considered cinema cameras if they recorded past 30 minutes. So they would dead stop the cameras at 29:59 so that you would have to reset it. So it's not that the camera doesn't have the ability to just continue recording into indefinite, but the manufacturer, like whoever's providing the camera, whether it be Nikon, Sony, Canon, whoever, would have to pay a much higher tax to sell that camera as a cinema camera because it fell into that category because it would record past 30 minutes. So the companies, to not have to pay this extra tax and actually protect their cinema cameras that would pay the tax over their DSLRs, so on and so forth, they decided to put this artificial cap on it, which is $29.59, and that's why it just has you reset. It sucks because even me, like right now, I've gotten better, and it's just, you learn with time that I've gotten better, that I've gotten my YouTube content, that when I'm able to record it, down to like 20 to 30 minutes, so that with my mistakes, so on and so forth, the file that I'm dealing with is usually under that time limit. It's usually more towards like the 20 minutes. My last one was like 15 minutes, and I was like, that's great, because I only have 15 minutes of footage to edit, and I know that what I want out of the video is there. So with that being a much smaller file, before, when I would take a lot longer because I had a lot more mistakes in my videos, a lot more editing to do because of these mistakes, there were more than one time where I would sit down to record, and then when I thought like, oh, I'm finished, you know, and I look, I probably had like only a half an hour of my 45 or 50 minutes of recording, and I would have to redo another half of the video, which back then was the worst because I didn't even know where I left it off, so I didn't know how to restart it. And one thing that really makes a difference in content creation is the continuity. So it has to do with like the energy that you're bringing. So yeah, like the continuity of like your energy. So you can tell if somebody's like up in energy one shot, and then you cut to the other one and they got a completely different mood because it doesn't flow, and that will take anyone out of your video. So whenever that did happen, where I lost like half of my footage because of the $29.59 cap on my videos a long time ago, trying to make YouTube videos, I would just scrap the whole thing and start all over again and try to get it under that time frame, you know. And if I knew that I didn't, I would have sometimes set timers just so that I knew, like when I was getting close, I would just shut it off and start again and just continue, so that I still had that same continuity as far as energy and tone of voice. All right. He says, good thing it doesn't overheat. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Even if it didn't have the $29.59 cap, it probably wouldn't have overheated. That's why I think it sucks that Nikon would do something like that with such a new camera. There's really no reason to do that because the country that was holding that tax law no longer holds that tax law, so there's no reason for us to still be limited by this superficial non-cinema camera thing to be at $29.59. There's Sly, how you doing? Says, hello fellow junkies, happy Saturday. It's always a great Saturday when we got such amazing people coming in here to hang out. Alright, it says, you're doing good. You will figure out what you need to upgrade for your channel equipment wise, but the hard part is the content. At least one video a week, but 2 are recommended. Any more and you'll get burnout. It just depends on what you're doing. There's a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands. I'm not one of them. I wish I had more time to create content, but yes, I would agree with that. Like, content is king. But I think he's doing good. I did take a peek at his channel. That's why. So, for I think you're still shy under 100 subscribers, and you're getting like 400 views a video. That's amazing numbers. So just stay at it, man. Look, it was not even 6 months ago where I was like hoping for 100 subscribers and trying to figure it all out, and then some things just click, and then you just realize, what, even though those are numbers that we do like care about because it unlocks certain things within the YouTube world, it's not a number that you really can control. And the way I see it is like quality over quantity. This is like a slow burn, at least for me, and slowly been building a really cool community here where everybody knows their name. It's like Cheers, right? But everybody knows each other, and we all unite to help each other out. And yeah, and Sly is very close to hitting go on her videos because she's doing another method, and she's building out like 5 videos on her channel, which is something that was advised by the great Daryl Eves. And he says, yeah, he's like, you don't want to create a really good video that people like, and then when they go to your channel, that's the only video that you have. And I wish I would have known that when I started. I'm like, yeah, because it makes sense. If I only pump out one video, no matter how good it is, as soon as somebody sees it and they go to my channel, they have consumed all of the content that I've made, and there's no more reason for them to subscribe, so to speak, because they don't know if I'll ever make anything again. Now with consistency and things like that, consistency of the content, that's where the channel starts growing, because people are seeing what you're doing, and then they want to support it. So awesome community here. All right, guitar giveaway channel saying, hello Mr. Camera Junkie, I'm loving your live streams from Australia. Thanks, man. Look at that. You see, don't you think that's so amazing? Right now, I don't know what time it is exactly over there, but I'm guessing they're not on the 12 o'clock. Maybe it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I could be wrong. Maybe it could be more towards the afternoon. Maybe like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But still, we're talking to someone live from Australia. That's so dope. That's just... Randall saying hi to Sly. When are you gonna post your first video? Well, if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sly, I believe that that's what you're doing, right? And that she's gonna be working on 5 videos. So when she hits go and you find one of her videos, you can go to her channel and find more, and know that more is on the way. Yo, Dr. Elo, getting the air horns. Says, call me again. Put a 3-minute live stream today. Absolutely. Hey, that's a start, man. And that's the whole thing. What I'm noticing right now is that for those of you who are thinking about doing live streams and stuff like that, I guess I was lucky enough to find it in December and let it snap to me. I'm like, this is so awesome, right? How you could build a community here and just of like-minded individuals. But all of, well, not all of them, but a lot, and I mean a lot of the content creators that I follow, right? That I look up to, so to speak, and I'm like, or that I get a lot of great information from, quality information. Like, this is the year of the live stream. Like, I'm seeing so many people. Peter Lindgren just did a live stream. Sydney Dionson, he did one not too long ago. He usually does his on Instagram, but he actually did one on YouTube, and and doing the whole thing. Brandon Washington just did one yesterday, and I think that was the first one that he had done in a long time, and that's where Kippy won the Hollyland Mars. And then Carlos Quintero doing one today as well, and he's like, oh, I haven't really done one in a while, and I like the style of bringing people on. So I'm seeing more and more of my favorite content creators start doing live stream. The Stallman podcast, he's been doing, that's Tyler Stallman. For those of you who are not familiar, he has a podcast called the Stallman Podcast, and he's been doing live recordings on a live stream, even though he's recording his podcast. So many. I'm just telling you, so many. I could sit here and probably just spend another half an hour of telling you like how many people, but so many people are doing the live streaming. It's so much fun. It's such an amazing way to connect directly with the community. It's second to none in my eyes. So I'll just leave it at that. But thanks for the love, man. It says, I just looked into my video calling and I agree, Lewis. Keep the camera, maybe better lens and some knowledge. Absolutely, man. And that's the whole thing. You can get that lens, right? And that's the good thing. And this is also another reason why I say, you know, glass before ass. Camera bodies depreciate in value. Lenses appreciate in value. They actually either keep their same value or gain value through the time. So even though you were to purchase like the Sigma for the camera body that you have right now, you can use it until you decide to upgrade, and when you do, you're most likely gonna get, like, percentage wise, more back from that lens than you would from the camera body if you decide to like sell it or anything like that. And that will really put you in a good situation, because it's kind of like you're purchasing it up front, but you're kind of thinking of it like you're renting it already. So if you use it for a year and then sell it a year from now for pretty much the same thing that you bought it, whatever difference that was your rental fee. So I would recommend that most likely that your best upgrade is probably moving from the kit lens to a prime lens. Whether, you know, if you're using the 15 to 45 kit lens on the M50, yeah, I would. It depends what focal length are you using it at, because if you're using it like at the 50mm or at the 30, well, that's the whole thing. Sigma's got you covered, because Sigma on the prime lenses for the APS-C mount, the M mount, just like the E mount, they have the 16mm, which is what you're seeing here, wide rectilinear. They also have a 30mm, which acts like a 50mm, and a 55mm, which acts very telephoto like an 88 or 90mm lens. So all great choices, and I love Sigma glass. That's also part, like, spoiler alert on my new video. I was very surprised that the Sigma, to me, kind of outperformed both of my Sony lenses. But I shouldn't be surprised. I always fall back to it. It's always on my camera. I'm always using this lens. Absolutely love it. This lens is what has stopped me from having to buy the 24 f1.4 that costs $1,400. Because 24 is like my favorite focal length. Just absolutely love it. So this has kept me from having to buy all of that, and the quality that I get from this lens and this setup, absolutely love it. It says, Randall, I get good view, bets get retention. Okay, we're talking about the videos. Just need experience to get better, to learn every time I come here. You guys are awesome. Hey, we have a really good, you know, camera junkie crew here. We're, like I said, we're all like-minded, so I'm glad that you get value of it, but you're always welcome, man. Anytime, you know, we're here. Lighting and focus is best. A teleprompter is helpful for old fart like me. You know, I'll tell you the truth, I'd rather read stuff like this, because I don't know if I'd read it, like, but I've also thought about getting a teleprompter so that maybe I can read the comments right here instead of looking off to the side. Because if I can read the comments real big right here, or maybe even just keep the chat right there and just select with which messages get thrown on there, I think that could be a benefit. It says, watch Lewis's video on how to make a teleprompter. I do. I have one on how to make one out of your iPad. So I've used the teleprompter, you know, just like to read scrolling text, and how to make something out of foam board and a piece of glass. A $10 teleprompter that works. You know what? Give me a second. I'm gonna pull one out because I have it right there. So let's see if we can see it. This is the teleprompter. It's made out of foam board. Right here on the base is where you would sit the iPad. And I'm just gonna open the flap so that you can see. It's a clear piece of glass, and just that glass sits there, and being the black backdrop allows reflection to be seen off the iPad. But the glass is so that if you do want to put a camera here, you can put the lens there so that you can still be recording through the glass, and all you do is drape a black towel or like a black t-shirt over it to get the remaining light out of it to give you the best optimal like reflection so that you can read whatever's on your iPad. It makes it super easy. You can use it with or without the camera behind it. And it's 10 bucks. 10 bucks some hot glue. Oh, he says he has a teleprompter. Oh, so he's set. Says I'm putting 3 of them public tonight. All right, so you see we got 3 of them there. I'm gonna have to check them out, Sly. Congratulations if you are gonna make them public. Welcome to the club. Because I did an interview, was it Tuesday? Which another milestone. It was my first time that I was asked to be interviewed from my MrCameraJunkie channel, so it was an honor to be asked to do that, and that's part of what I said that I wanted to be available to be doing more of during the week. So I was able to do a live stream, and yeah, and we were talking about pretty much the same thing about just going public with like your first videos, and to know that no matter how good they are, right, and no matter how much effort you put into them, your first videos will never be your best videos. You're always gonna learn more. You're always gonna learn more, and you're gonna be like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. So, you know, give it up to you as well, Robert, because of the simple fact that it's almost like the entrepreneur spirit. And I heard this somewhere. I think it was Heather Ramirez that said, you know, entrepreneurs jump off the cliff and build the wings on the way down. And I can't emphasize that was such like a dope way of putting the perspective of the entrepreneurial mind. So yeah, it's the same thing. You just go for it first, and you figure out the rest on the way there. You don't know what you need until you need it, and sometimes you don't even need it. For example, I take it for myself. I was on Doc Rock's live stream. I don't know, I think it was last night, and you know, we're all messaging, things like that, and I wrote in the chat that most likely my next investment in gear was gonna be the DBX 286S, which is a single channel XLR compressor, de-esser, denoiser, noise gate, a nice little system all built into one. And I'm like, I think that's gonna be my next piece of kit, because I've tried the digital audio workstations. I'm working with a couple of different things on the computer. Speaking of loopback and audio hijack, whenever I try to listen to that information to see if I can control levels and things like that with my audio, I keep getting this real bad echo sound, or like, you know, like a slapback, how it's called. So it sounds real bad, unusable. So totally scrap that. And I'm using just my basic mixer with my microphone the best way that I can. And just mentioning that to Doc Rock, he saw that and he's like, Luis, you don't need it. And he just looked at me through the camera. He's like, you don't need it, bro. He's like, your audio's good. He's like, your visuals are good. Just keep going. You're good. He's like, you don't even have to invest in that. And I was like, oh, that was like a relief to me, because those are the things that I worry about the most, right? Those are the things that I care about. Maybe some of you guys don't, but that's like, that was my next stepping stone. And to have someone like Doc literally tell me like, yo, you don't need it, because the way that you have your your system set up, you're already better than what you can get from that, and you're good. Like, worry about something else. Just, it made me feel good, it was like, that's really cool, and it did allow me to move past that step and go, okay, then that's something that I really don't need. What will be the next thing that I can level up on my live stream and on my content? So it's always a learning experience, as we're all trying to, like, tweak our stuff and get it to be better every single time, but it's always gonna be a learning process, and I'm always still up for new things. Even though I didn't use the audio hijack and the loopback for the live stream or anything like that, I have already seen some uses for it because of the things that you're going to be able to do with those programs. So I just heard about them recently, and I installed them to test them out, but they seem to be pretty interesting. The fact that I can literally do like a bunch of cable rerouting and do everything within the computer, and if it's not for a live stream aspect, it actually works out pretty well, especially for my own audio. So right now, the music that you guys are hearing and everything, I have it set up and it's going into the audio microphone input into the computer. With the audio hijack and loopback, I'm able to take that file and then just reroute it and then pump it out through my speakers. So now the music and the control and the sound effects, all that stuff, I'm able to hear it through my computer speakers when I just want to mess around here and test things out before I go live. So it has made itself useful in the short time that I've had it. Randall saying you're doing good, so I think he's talking to Sly about saying that she's gonna make 3 public right now. Saying cool. Yes, and congratulations, Sly, because you already made the content and you're already there, And like I said, after 21 days, it's already gonna be a habit. You're already gonna be working on stuff like that. Kibby says, oh yeah, I love Carlos stuff too. I subbed to him too, but I think I was aired when Malaysia was in the wee morning hours. I guess that's why I missed it. It could have been. It could have been because I'm not really paying attention to the time of the day. But if it was like 2 in the afternoon, something like that, it was. Yeah, that would be like 2 a.m. in the morning for you, right? It's reversed. It says I use Ecamm too. Oh man, so yeah, I'll be able to just help you out as much as I can, and you'll be able to get a lot of things. Did you use any overlays? I don't know if that's something that you want to use, things like that, but it's all possible and it's very easy, especially with Ecamm. And that's another thing. I've tried all the other, well, not all of them, but I did Restream.io. I think they've gotten a recent upgrade since the time that I messed with them, but nonetheless, I digress, because anything that could be done through there, I do through Ecamm. I tried StreamYard, I tried OBS, and Streamlabs OBS. The one that I got the best performance out of was Streamlabs OBS. Still not perfect, and then once I got onto Ecamm, that was it. Ecamm just sealed the deal. Sly Reader, I'm using Spectrum and uploading is slow. I think I'm going with AT&T 1000 Mbps up and down, but not interested in a contract. Well, maybe I can give you some good news, Randall, because I would tell you to give them a call. But I believe that AT&T, because I use AT&T and I have the fiber, and it works very well. I'm very happy with the service that I'm getting from AT&T right now. But AT&T no longer does contracts, because they went to their customer service department and they were saying, what is the #1 complaint that you get from all of our customers? And they were like, the contracts. If people could just pay month to month, and then, like, let's say life happens where they have to move somewhere and they don't need to be under a contract, they can just cancel it without penalties, and then restart the service when they get back here without, you know, like having to sign another contract for another year would be ideal. And they did that. So I would tell you to look into it. When you speak to them, call them, because I believe even though you purchase their services, you're not under like a year-long contract, and you're just literally on a month-to-month contract with AT&T Fiber. And just to give you an example, that's how I have it. I'm saying that from my experience. I'm not under contract with AT&T, so if I decided next month I wanted to go with a different company, I could just tell them, pick up your stuff, done with the service, and there's no penalty because I'm not under contract. I watched Carlos's stream and saw you there. Carlos is very informative. Yes. I like the fact that he's like wind down weekends, you know. Has a glass of wine, just hanging out. Hydrate. The M50 Mark II clean HDMI to use a capture card is the only difference. Yep, you see? He's confirming that the Mark II and the M50, the only difference is that. So, and I don't think they're coming out with a Mark III. So that goes to show you like that Canon is kind of abandoning the M type of cameras. But once again, I still think that that's a good investment, because you're not going to lose money on the glass. You're just going to save some money in maximizing the camera that you have by putting a good piece of glass in front of it. Oh, I nailed it. He said, yep, 2 p.m. in Australia. Okay, that sounds cool. Getting my time zones right. I'm driving home from babysitting, but I'm listening to with rapt attention. I forgot to change the color on this background, and it's still getting a little tough for me to read. So we gotta put that in for next week to make sure that I get that. That's something I could probably change on the fly with Ecamm, but everything's been going smooth, so let's not poke the bear. Says, so you are not reading text while driving. Charlie Parlane saying, yo, what's up, my dude? What's up, Charlie? How are you doing, sir? Byron B, what's up, man? Thanks for having you here, sir. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Oh, we got the hands. That's a really good saying. I'm not sure which one you were talking about, because I know I'm behind on the chat. One was, does this even give me a timestamp to know how far behind? I'm not that far behind. Okay. What live streaming software do you use? Right now I use Ecamm. Ecamm, absolutely. If anything, you can look up any of my videos in the description. It's there. It's probably one of the things right on top, because I emphasize it. You can go and get like a 2-week free trial if you're using a Mac. It's only for Mac computers, but I highly recommend it. And this is gonna sound weird, but it's gonna be the truest thing that I can ever say. If Robert's here to maybe even confirm this, or Dr. Elo, Ecamm is a great program, hands down. What makes Ecamm the best? The community and the support that you get with this program. Hands down. The best. Like, I'm on this Ecamm community on Facebook, meeting so many incredible, like, amazing people. So many people just go live there to test out their streams, and it is so much fun. That's all I can say. But definitely, and the guys, Ken and Glenn, who designed the program, the support on it is incredible, and it's the first live streaming application, period, to be native to the M1 with Mac. So the new M1 Mac Minis, MacBook Pros, everything that can handle the program will run it, and the program's already designed natively to run optimally with M1. So it's just an amazing program. And look at how smooth everything's running. Everything runs smooth. Scrolling text, you got overlays. Oh, I haven't even been moving around because I can go here. And yep, now I have what's basically a moving shot. So I'm gonna go here. This is my second shot with Ecamm, all controlled through the keyboard. So after a little bit, after about 10 seconds, it'll just switch right back over to the main shot and constantly just be switching throughout the shots so that I can just continue to ramble on and keep things a little bit interesting, giving you a second angle, all built into Ecamm. So yeah, definitely go take a look at any of my videos, any of them, and that should be in the description. You'll get 2 weeks free to try it out, and I would definitely tell you to also check out the Facebook community, Ecamm Live, an amazing community. Which, as I know it sounds a bit weird, but once you experience the Ecamm and the Ecamm community, you will absolutely know what I'm talking about. I'm saying like, oh, the community is something else. Like the support that you get within the community in anything that you could imagine, and the fact that if you do have a particular problem or like you find something that nobody else has run across, you have access to the guys who designed the program, who wrote it, and be able to give you their insights, and they'll probably be asking you a couple of questions just so that they can get to the bottom of it, because they're really on their, on their game when it comes to their program. And much love and much respect to those dudes, Ken and Glenn, man. They're amazing. They've created an amazing program, and I vouch for it. I absolutely love it. It's been the best experience for me for my live streams. And once you're not worried about the software, it allows you to like enjoy the live stream and be able to communicate with you guys, in a much easier method. Plus the fact that I can just bring you guys like names right into it, like right onto the screen, is the bomb. Okay, I think you're visible now. And Randall, I was only texting while sitting at lights. Or you can get the AirPods. Whenever I'm in the car and I need to text something out, I just dictate it through the AirPod. So it's just like speaking to a friend. Says good to know. I didn't know that about AT&T. Yeah, I didn't know either, because it was literally a situation that I had to speak to the CSR, and I was upset, with something that was going down. Not only did they take care of it, but they also informed me like, hey, if you don't want us next month because you're not happy, just let us know. We'll just stop the service, and there's no cancellation. I was like, you know what, that's cool. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I stayed with them instead of like going back to Comcast. And it says, I will look into it, Lewis. Thanks for the info. Yeah, but I'm passing it on. I thought that was really cool from AT&T, and is like something that you would advocate for. So if a company is going, taking that extra step and asking their employees what is the #1 complaint that our customers have, I think you have to you have to tip your hat to a company like that, because they are still trying to be, what's the word? Like, I guess ahead of the situations, preemptive in that aspect. So big ups to them. Well, at least you're not driving and texting, but parking. Yeah, texting and waiting. It says the one about the entrepreneurs. Oh yeah, I think it was Heather Ramirez on a live stream that I heard her say. It says entrepreneurs jump off the cliff and build the wings on the way down. And it's a good analogy, because yeah, you don't know what to expect. But it was Jim Carrey on a speech at a school or something, and he's mentioned this story multiple times. But Jim Carrey was the one who actually said that his father was an accountant, and he said that his father was a funnier comedian than he ever could be. But his father didn't chase his dream and decided to just basically play it safe and become an accountant. And after like 20-25 years of being an accountant, he was still fired and he was still let go. And you know what he brings as far as the story is like, if you can play it safe and still fail, you know, because they were at that point when his father got, you know, fired, they were living out of a van. So it's like saying, you can play it safe and fail, then why not just go for the stars, go for everything that you could ever imagine? Because if you fall short, is it really a failure, you know, when you played it by your terms? And you only fail if you give up, right? So that's a whole nother thing. If you keep going, there's no such thing as failure. It's just falling forward. And with those two types of mentalities, just like, hey, the only thing that's stopping you from anything is you. So go for it. Boom. Okay, she says, I'm home now. Randall, my daughter lives about 45 minutes away from me, so a bit of a drive. Well, I'm happy to be able to provide more than 45 minutes worth of, of entertainment while you take the ride home and make it home safe. Randall says, those drives. Live in San Antonio area. Relatives are anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes away. I'm lucky to say that my mother passed away, for those of you who didn't know, last year, but my father is still fairly close, and now I've been taking advantage of seeing him every weekend that I haven't had Aiden. So the 3 weeks that Aiden has been like with his mom over the weekend, I miss my little guy, but the 3 weeks I've been taking advantage and been visiting my father and taking that time to spend with family, you know, make the most out of the extra time that I have and not be wasteful. I'm lucky to say that my dad is just like 10-15 minutes down the street, and I have the ability to see him whenever I can, so I need to make the most of that. You know, life's a hell of a ride, but nobody makes it out alive. And we need to make the most out of our most precious commodity, which is time. And that's why, like I always tell you guys, I always appreciate you guys spending the time here with me. It means so much. It's just so much fun. What is up, Northern Girl Hobbies? What is up? How are you doing? Congratulations on your phone vlogging kit from the Huddle Up. It was super cool to see that you won it. And when Heather was saying that she wasn't sure if you used your phone, I was like, yep, she uses her phone. She definitely does her phone content. So I'm glad that you were able to win that and make good use out of it. So congratulations as well. She says, awesome studio, this is refreshing. Well, thank you, I appreciate it. I'm glad that you like my setup. This is pretty much my home. This is my studio slash office. I call it my stoffice. And this is where I do everything. This is where I take care of my son. This is where I run my day-to-day business of cell phone repairs, and also where I create my content. And I have pretty much everything set up here. Just because you're new here to the live stream as well, just to show you, one of my favorite things is the fact that I can control my lights. So I can go into like a color mode here where I reset my lights. I can go into my full MCJ blue, and then my standard like live streaming. I have quite a few different little setups. Dark mode. Oh. Now it's just totally different, but bunch of different setups. So thank you. This is my set. I worked hard on it, but I absolutely love what I was able to create with the limited space and creativity, because I was able to put a lot of things together just because of hacks and things like that. So I do need to make a studio tour. That was part of an interview that I did earlier in the week, that it was all about my setup, and like, nobody would know, but my tripod here on my desk, I made it out of wood. So it's this wooden tripod, but it works perfect because I was able to cut it exactly at the height that I wanted, and I really couldn't find anything in the market to get me that same exact height because of my build out. But I need to put all of those things into a video, because I have a do-it-yourself key light, modded fixtures everywhere, just the MacGyver studio, you know, like everything's just held together with gaff tape and crazy glue. Okay, he says, yes, that's another good one. I never knew that about Jim Carrey. Yeah, it's you look up anything Jim Carrey, or like motivational speech, you'll definitely run across that one. It's such an interesting story because it's true, you know, like nothing is guaranteed here, so why waste any time or effort? Just make sure that you're doing everything, you know, like with thought, you know, and intention, because intention is key. It's super important. And when you do things with the correct intention and a good amount of effort, good things always tend to follow. It says, how's the video about your son doing? You know what? I just realized that message, not just realized, I realized after I sent it that, I think it was just written wrong. I'm editing a video, but the comment that I was referencing to Peter was about Aiden. So it was like, oh yeah, I'm referencing this about Aiden's comment that he made on the live stream, but my answer was that I'm editing a video. And then when I read it myself, I go, it seems like it says that I'm editing a video about Aiden when it's not. It's like I was responding about the question about Aiden, and then the answer was that I'm editing a video, which is the video that I have been editing, that I've been trying to edit this whole week, which is my video, what is it? The Sony A6100 video capabilities and the testing of the 3 lenses. That's funny, because you know what, Randall, you picked that up and I picked that up on yesterday's live stream, and I was like, that didn't read out correctly, you know, like the thought was there, but it didn't come out, it didn't type out correctly. Also, I think it's very smart move by AT&T, because they make the most likely to want them to stay with them. Yeah, I agree. That's why I stayed with them. I was like, you know what, that's cool, because if I don't want to, like, it puts the ball back in my court. So if I feel that they're not providing the service that my funds are paying for, then I can just say, you know what, that's it. You don't get my money anymore, and I'm not under contract. So it holds them accountable to make sure that they're providing a good service. I think that's a good business model, especially when I use something similar myself with my business, where I tell everyone anybody can fix your phone, but you could only get the customer service that I provide with Mr. Fix-It, because I go above and beyond, especially for my clientele. I'm very appreciative of the people who decide to get their phones fixed with me, but I also, you know, reciprocate that feeling with the service that I do provide. And it's a symbiotic, you know, relationship with every single one of my clients. I have had the experience through business where people try to step on you and step over you as if they owned you. And when that has happened in my personal business, I have cut that person off, and I tell them, you know, thank you, but my services are no longer available to you, because you no longer appreciate what I do and going above and beyond for you. So once I see that you don't reciprocate and that the relationship is not symbiotic, then there's no relationship left there, and I no longer service them. Because that's what people forget. You know, as a business, I also choose who I do business with, not for. And there's a huge difference. So hopefully that helps out whoever needed to hear that. Because those are things that you learn as an entrepreneur. You just do, because you're always trying to say, you know, like we're taught that whole thing of like the customer's always right, which they are, but you get to choose your customers. And that's what they kind of don't tell you, that, you know, the customer's always right. But you get to choose the customers that you decide to work with. I choose my clientele as much as they choose me. Okay. So it says, Bribe, you lease their equipment or buy your own? I don't know about the AT&T, but it's just leased. It's part of like their rental. They don't even give you rental. It's just like, this is the box that you need to use our internet. Thank you for buying our internet. And if you decide to no longer buy their internet, just give them their box back. Super easy and super cool so far, you know. And I've had them for like over a year now, or just about a year. Haven't had a problem with AT&T. The hardest thing was when I moved recently to this location and bringing the services over here. That was pretty much the only thing. I literally waited like 3 weeks to a month. Sly says, ooh, that dark mode is cool. And so the guitar giveaway channel says, yo, your dark mode rocks. Alright, that's good to know. That's literally like all the lights off. Here, check this one out. This is full power. This is when I want to have all the lights on in the place. This is full brightness, and when you see full brightness, it blows everything out. Everything just, it almost becomes high key. So from high key, we go to dark mode, and then back to live stream. And you know what I've noticed? I was on another live stream. Doc Rock was like very disappointed with the response that he got from his Philips Hues and his phone. And you guys can see, I click a button here and my lights change on the spot. So I've been very happy, and these were probably like the budget option that I got from Amazon. But I do have them in my cart. I need to like let you guys know which ones that I'm using, because I've been very happy with what I've gotten from that set. Okay, watch out for the Windows updates. It's coming. Oh man. Windows updates. For those of you who don't know, the Windows updates is why my stream halfway in the middle of it would just restart and reboot in the middle of it. I actually have Comcast and I'm stuck to a 1-year contract, so I might be interested in working with AT&T in the future. Yes, and they have the fiber, and I in my previous home had like the most inexpensive entry-level fiber, which I believe was 500. And when I came over here with refreshing that information and them letting me know that, hey, we're not under contract, I was like, okay, that's cool. They also hooked me up and they were like, we're not going to charge you anything extra, and I pay the same amount. Excuse me, and I pay the same amount, and I think I'm at the 1,000 up, 1,000 down. I'm at the gig up and down service, and I really do get those numbers, which is really surprising to me. Not 800, not nothing, but into the 990s to the full gigabit. Okay, let's see where we're at. I own my router and modem. I use Spectrum, but there's no contract. It's going to be 100 Mbps. Going up and down costs more than AT&T. Randall, it's unfortunate that you've already purchased it. You know, you already have the router and the modem. I used, being a tech guy myself and dealing with tech, I used to have my own modem and router. I've changed my mind, and it wasn't recently, but it was like years ago when I realized that when you purchase your own modem and router, it's kind of like purchasing a car of that year. So if the technology were to upgrade and change, you're still dealing with an older vehicle to connect to that same type of road. So the amount of money that you would pay for the rental or the leasing of any equipment with your ISP or your internet service provider, whoever it is, I've been telling people for years, I'm like, yes, rent their equipment for a couple of reasons. If an electrical storm were to happen, right, and a power surge comes and fries your modem, fries your router, you're out the money that you need to go buy a new one, you know. The company, if that same thing were to happen to my box and it fries and it dies, I call them up and I'm like, hey, I pay you money, do you want me to still pay you money? If you do, you need to replace the box that broke. And they will come out and they'll replace it and most likely give you the latest and greatest, you know, tech, because that's the new thing that they're trying to pump out to the houses. So then I'll get an upgrade in the Wi-Fi and all this extra stuff. It's just incremental. And that was me years ago when I was with Comcast. I was like, yeah, there's no reason for me to buy my own hardware when it's never gonna be upgraded via like software or firmware, and it's only going to depreciate in value. So, you know, if you wanted to get the newest version of the internet and you're paying Comcast or AT&T and you see a commercial that says, we got this new thing, blah, 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 and you want it just because you want it, you can still call the company and go, hey, I want that new box. How can I get it so that I'm taking full advantage of that service, comparative to being limited to the speeds that your older box can actually provide. Oh, he says 1000 Mbps is what I meant. Okay, so the speeds aren't bad. But now, this is exactly, you know, just to give you the example, a year from now, maybe 2, if we're at 2 gigs up and down, you're still going to be limited to that box that's only at, you know, 1000 Mbps. Yeah, if the latest and greatest, if they got a kick into the fiber where it's faster than that now, and now you can access double the speeds, then all I know I have to do is just call AT&T and be like, yo, I need that new box, and they're going to send it to me, and it's not going to be an extra charge. And also, mostly if it fries, if you have any problems with the actual equipment, it's not your own, it belongs to the company, and they'll have to, you know, account for it and get you a replacement. Says, yes, I own my own equipment. I wasn't going to rent out theirs. I'm trying to get my family members to do the same thing. It's so funny. I think totally different. Cheaper cheaper that way by owning saves me in the long run. Well, the only thing that I would say, that if you are thinking about it that way to save you in the long run, then I would tell you to just, you know, also put aside a little bit of money, or the equivalent of the amount of money that it will cost you to replace your equipment, and then anything past that would absolutely be savings. So if you can do that, you know, not everyone has the ability. I think, Randy, you can do it. I think, you know, you're mature enough to be able to like set yourself on a limit like that. So if you're able to do it, whoever it is that you are, more power to you. You know, when it came to me, I got to the point where I was like, you know what, there's no reason for me to buy equipment, and that's just my thoughts on it. But that's funny because you guys think totally different about saving the money with getting your own hardware. Okay, MrCameraJunkie, this might be a dumb question, not a dumb question, but anyways, but do you do videos about how to repair phones? Is about your business, because I've always been curious on repairing phones and other items like that. That's actually not a dumb question. That's actually a great question, Baron, for this reason. Yes and no. Yes, I'm going to be doing them. No, I haven't done them. And this is kind of like the conundrum that I'm in right now, because it's really tough to take the spare time that I have to create content that I love making, which is what we're doing right now, you know, being right here on the live stream, creating the videos. That's all based around the passion that I have with photography, videos, cameras, everything like that. I did everything wrong that you're supposed to do wrong with a YouTube channel with my Mr. Fix-It YouTube channel, right? Because I didn't know how YouTube worked. I was naive, so I used YouTube the same way that I would use all my other social media platforms, which was kind of like to advertise, you know, to put a small 15 to 30 second snippet of the information and try to jam pack it and condense it so that it stays relative or like interesting to you, and I'm still able to convey my message. So the content that I have created in that format, right, I would take an entire repair that would maybe be like 15 minutes, and I would do a hyperlapse where I'm compressing and condensing 15 minutes into about 30 seconds. And then with the social media applications, I was also able to take that and squeeze it down to even 15 seconds and double time it to just kind of make it look faster. Throw some like text overlays. It shows you what I did, but it's a small little 15 second, 30 second piece of content. So great for TikTok, great for Instagram and Reels, great for Facebook, great for everything except YouTube, because of this reason. YouTube, the last thing that you want to do on YouTube is see advertisements. Now, on all the other platforms, you're kind of more used to them. So if you see a post that doesn't look like a advertisement but it still conveys that same thing, it's a lot easier to like digest on those other platforms that are built that way. But on YouTube, people skip ads. You know, the last thing, people will leave your video if you have an intro. So with that being said, you know, the last thing that you want to do is build a video for this platform that consists of being a commercial, because nobody's gonna skip a commercial to watch a commercial. Right? So everything that you could do wrong with YouTube, I did with Mr. Fix-It. I learned from those hard knocks what not to do, and has helped me out with this channel. But the thing with me has a lot to do with the time. Now, I am trying to schedule in, and this is still answering the same question. I'm still trying to schedule in now that I have more availability for my weekends to actually start putting together these how to do it yourself phone repair for the iPhone videos, because I have all the equipment that I need, I have the experience, and I want to put a change towards the channel. Because the way that I see it is, the more information that I give out for free, right, especially on the Mr. Fix-It, I can show the entire world how complex it is to fix an iPhone to the nth degree and show you every detail. And one of two things are going to happen. You're going to see the video, you're going to be amazed at what I'm able to do, and then follow it instruction by instructions to do it by yourself. Or two, you're going to take a look at the video, you're going to be amazed, and you're going to be overwhelmed with all the details and all the work that goes into a screen repair, and be like, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to call Mr. Fix-It. And then hopefully that will generate into a repair for me in the future. You know, being local, if somebody says, hey, I see that you know what you're doing, and after seeing your video, I will never attempt to open up my phone. Can you please come over here to fix it? And that could be a generation of lead, because I'm showing myself as the resource, right? As the resource online to be able to do these types of repairs. And when you find the resource and find it that he's local, like, hey, he's down the street, his phone number's right there, and all I have to do is call him to get all that expertise into my phone, boom, we got something going. But the tough part with me is that I prefer making these videos instead of those videos, even though I love making videos. So when it comes to that, I always choose to make my Mr. Camera Junkies over my Mr. Fix-It. You know, I'll probably show you guys next week if you're here, because I don't know exactly what I did with it. Or you know what, I'm gonna show you a video that I made, my last video, because I should be able to pull it up through Facebook. And we have the iPad here, so let's take a look at this. I know I have something here for the iPad. There we go. Right, boom, there we go. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is my profile. Let's see, this is one of my videos. Right, oh, maybe not. Oh, my pages, let's go to that. Why am I not seeing anything here? Posts? You can tell that I barely use Facebook, right? There we go. Let's see if I can blow this off of the screen of your new iPhone. Have you ever felt the despair? Do you remember the feeling you get taking the plastic film off of the screen of your new iPhone? Have you ever felt the despair of dropping your phone? Now you think that it could never be the same. All you have to do is give me a call. I travel to you, fix your iPhone right from my vehicle in your driveway, and give you a 90-day warranty. Mr. Fix-It is the most convenient iPhone repair service there is. You don't have to stop what you're doing, just give me a call. Once I'm done, you too will have that new iPhone feeling again. Mr. Fix-It, call today. Alright, I think that was successful. So let's bring the music back up. Alright, success. You see, technology, I love eCam. So yeah, as you can see, that's what I was able to do. That was the last video that I was able to put together. I was very happy with that because I was able to think of the concept, get here, record it, and edit, pump it out, and upload it in one day, which is ideal for what I'm trying to do. Now, like my latest video that I've edited here, the one that I'm in the middle of editing, it's already been a 2-week project when it comes to editing all the different types of clips that I'm using, the different times, the time that it's taken to edit, the fact that I've been making content in between the week that's been taking time from me and work itself. So with all those things being said, I have not been able to finish this A6100 video capabilities test. And with that, that's why I said, like, it's all a different, you know, it's all a different it's just different, you know. So I'm always trying to juggle these things, from creating content for my business while running my business, to not making commercials but making more of like how to fix it repairs, to then fall in place as like commercials, or to show that Mr. Fix-It is the viable resource to come and get your iPhone repaired. So let me know what you guys thought of that video, because I liked it. I think it came out very well. And yeah. Oh man, we've been at it for like 2.5 hours. What is up? Look, thank you guys. You guys are so awesome. 2.5 hours and it's blown by like nothing. But I am starting to feel it. I'm getting to the end of the chat. Okay, so let's see. Oh no. Ooh, we got some chat here. Yeah, I went on a rant. Okay. Alright, Serenity Journey. What's up, man? How you doing, James? How you doing, bro? Nice to see you here. Says, yep, that's exactly how I feel about owning the equipment. It saves you money in the long run. Showing videos on how to repair cell phones might bring lawsuits from cell phone makers. I wouldn't do it. Actually, no. That shouldn't be an issue. You know, like, I'm not going to be doing any hardware stuff. I'm going to be doing things that you have the ability to do yourself. Marquez Brownlee recently made a video, and it's kind of a taboo subject, you know, the right to repair. But as of right now, anything that you buy, you do have the right to repair yourself. So if that were to be any issue, I wouldn't have the ability to actually do my business, and I know that I wouldn't be running across any problems, you know. And just to ease your guys' minds, you know, I spoke to a Apple representative not too long ago. They called me because of a issue with an iPhone, and I spoke to them very clearly, and they're like, oh, this person said that they thought that you were an Apple authorized dealer. And I'm like, I never said that. Like, I never said that ever, you know, because there are so many limitations, drawbacks to being an Apple certified dealer, that there's no reason for me to do it. Like, there's no reason, because they would literally control my business and tell me what I can or can't do, which they can't do in the first place. So I appreciate the thing, but especially when it comes to videos, like, you know, when it comes to videos, that's even gonna be a piece of cake, because I'm not yeah, I'm just informing. I'm giving you my opinion. This is what I would do, you know. That's almost saying, like, if I wouldn't have the ability to repair my phone or show someone how I repaired my phone, then somebody wouldn't have the ability to buy this product and then break it and make a video about how they broke it. You have absolutely the right to do whatever you want with your stuff. It says Louis Rockman has a problem with Apple. Yeah, but the problem with Apple is personal. Like, you know, Apple can't sue him. They cannot sue him. That's like saying Ford is gonna sue a mechanic for repairing something that they broke. Because then that would be like, you know, you're the one who caused this problem. It's just like, you know, and I deal with a lot of these issues when it comes to the iPhones, that certain things people be like, hey, you know what, my phone, the microphone stopped working, can you replace the microphone? And I have to ask them a series of questions, because if it doesn't fall into a certain criteria, most likely they've created an internal damage that can't really be repaired and only needs to be replaced. So if it falls into that category, it's like, you know what, there's nothing that can be done. You would have to see a Louis Rossman to get a reballing job done, which I wouldn't do. It costs a lot of money, and it doesn't guarantee that it won't happen again in the future. So for that reason, it's kind of a loss, where you would just say, cut your losses and use the phone either with Bluetooth for the time being until you find yourself a new phone. But like I said, it's stuff that I want to do. I definitely need to cut out the time to get it done. Well, not really, says, well, not really the business, just how to repair his phone, but I get what you're saying for legal reasons. But like I said, the legal reasons, I'm not even worried about it one bit. Like, even if, right, even if they were to have the ability, which they don't, the only thing that they can do is try to get me to put my videos down. That's all they can do, you know. And they don't have that ability, so that goes to show you how little they can do. A lot of people, you know, get confused because of perceived power, you know, like people think that these companies have the power to do that stuff when they don't. And I have a better understanding, I guess, being in the business itself for that long, that I'm like, yeah, they have no right to tell you how to do any of that stuff. So I'm not worried about it. It says, now dropping your cell phone in water and putting it in a bag of rice is okay. No, not okay, man. Not okay. I can't tell you how many phones I've repaired because people think that that's like the magic cure. You know, to be sincere, right? To be the most accurate, the way that you would get a phone to like dry out with rice, it would not only be to place the phone in rice for 24 hours, but basically place the rice in 24 hours in sunlight. So I would tell you, maybe get a Ziploc bag big enough to put a good amount of rice, throw the phone in the middle of it, close the bag, and then put it like on your porch, someplace where it's gonna get sunlight, or maybe like on a concrete like sidewalk on the side of your home, or someplace where you know that you have access to it, but that is gonna get nice and hot. Because what it's gonna do is that you're gonna start evaporating, like baking your phone within the rice, and instead of the water just going into the bag, it's gonna be absorbed by the rice, and that would be your best chance. And it's still not a guarantee, because you would still most likely need to open up the phone and do a complete water restoration the right way. I can't tell you how many phones I've gotten and they're like, I don't know what's wrong with the phone. And when I take it and I'm like, oh, it's got water in it, because as soon as I open it, there's water in it. And then when I check the charging port, there's a grain of rice, meaning they already tried the rice trick and it didn't work. And now they're calling me and they're like, I don't know what happened, when they absolutely knew that it fell in water. I've seen it all, so that's so funny. It totally took a left turn, right, from what we were talking about here. It says, I respect the opinion about the modem and the router. Is just, I've had mine for so long, I got my money's worth. Yeah, you see, that's cool. But if I was going to upgrade in the future, then I might do that. Hey, we all have different perspectives, right? It's just, you know, like, there was a time, right? I'll give you another example. There was a time where I'm like, I own a home, I'm gonna cut my grass and I'm gonna do all this stuff. Whenever I needed to do yard work, it was an entire day of me not being able to do any iPhone repairs or to do anything else. I would spend the entire day, I would be engulfed in like oiling up lawnmowers and getting fuel and messing with weed whackers and all this stuff, to spend an entire day sweating. I'm like, to save $30, to save $60 maybe on the month. I was like, nah, I can make more than that in a day if I really put myself to work and fixing phones. So I hired somebody, and every time that that person would come to the home and I would have to pay them to cut the grass, that day I made more than that working. So it was always a wash or a positive. So you just have to know what you're gonna like spend your time and money. But if you've gotten more than that, you got your money's back from buying it because you've had it for so many years, more power to you. Because I also have had the ones that I paid myself and then they broke on me, and then I'm at the store spending more money. I'm like, why am I doing this? So different experiences lead to different opinions, right? It says, yeah, I'm learning from you guys that it's smarter to do something that you're passionate about. You and Professor Nez and other YouTubers. Yeah, Professor Nez is awesome. I'm gonna see you there tomorrow, right? See you tomorrow afternoon over there at Nez Nation. Another live stream that I visit. As you can see, I can start a whole new channel that's called MrCameraJunkie. That was a great video. I like the B-roll and the sped up action. Nice, thank you. I just like the fact that I came up with the idea, the concept, right? But now, just to give you an example as well, that sped up portion is all that you would have found on my YouTube channel before. That, like that 15-second little zzz and show me, you know, doing the repair. That sped up, really hyper fast action was the only thing that I had, and that will not do anything on YouTube. That's why I said I'm looking to do another way, a different, another angle. Go at that channel looking at a different angle. I'm really thinking about removing all of the data that was there before, all of the videos, and just starting from scratch with like 5 videos similar to either that or the actual repairs, and then give it another go and see how the algorithm works with those new videos. Because there's, you know, I can start a new channel, or I can just delete the videos that I have there and start like if it was a new channel, and it's gonna work pretty much the same thing, because nothing has really happened with that. I have 9 subscribers and I think they're all family members, so it goes to show you. My niece met her husband by throwing her card with her number and business on it through his window while they were stopped at a street light. That is so cool. Hey, she knew what she wanted. Psst, you need to hit me up. He pulled over thinking she was trying to pick him up for a date, but it was for her cell phone fix-up business. But they ended up hooking up anyways. You said my niece's husband. She met her husband. That's so funny. It says, Sly, I love your avatar. Alright. Says, Bribey, passion is important. YouTube is a lot of hard work, and more passionate about the channel that you are, the more you will dig and follow through on the work when things don't go as expected. Exactly. And that's probably why I abandoned, you know, thinking in hindsight, that's probably why I straight up abandoned that channel, so to speak, and uploading, because you see no growth in it and you're like, oh, what am I doing wrong, when I had no idea what I was doing on YouTube. You know, everything that I was doing was working on all the other platforms, but then when I drop it into YouTube, it's like crickets. Now that I understand YouTube, I'm like, absolutely nobody's gonna skip a commercial to watch a commercial. But yeah, James is right. You have to be passionate about what you're doing here. That's why I'm called the camera junkie, right? It's just a junkie. I just, like, I gotta tell you the truth, like, as soon as I saw, like, the pictures of this 28mm f1.8, I was like, all the juices started flowing again. I was like, oh yeah, like Sony's really going in on these lenses. Absolutely love it. Art Carrasco. I should have said that correct. Say, hey brother, followed you from Tommy Calloway's live streams. Nice to have you here, man. Thanks for stopping by, and welcome to the Camera Junkie live stream. Welcome to the Camera Junkie crew. Says, thanks Randall. We got thumbs up. Says, you probably should. Yeah, be calling it quits, right? But I have to admit that you and Professor Nez have made me realize I need to just start doing videos on YouTube. So thank you for that. Absolutely, man. Just get started. Like, I cringe at my first videos. I cringe at my first live streams. And if you don't, then that means that you're not really, like, putting as much effort. Because if you're trying to get better at anything and you see no improvement, means that you really haven't put effort. But with that being said, everyone that stopped by here, I appreciate every single one of you. I know we still got some people hanging out. I don't know how many of you guys are still here, but thank you as always. I'm going to be calling it a night. I'm going to be leaving you guys with my tip of the day as always. But as always, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out. Next week, we're going to be doing it all over again. As usual, next week is week 26. 6 months of live streaming consecutive without missing a Saturday, without missing a beat. And like I said before, so much of it has to do with all of you guys coming out here to hang out with me and share your ideas and the conversation, and more importantly, your time, which is our most valuable commodity. And with that being said, have a great night. I will see you all here again next week. We'll be doing it again, and it looks like this time slot is working out really good. Because even though we did a 2.5 hour live stream, right, it's still just not 3 o'clock in the morning, but getting close to 2, which is a good thing. So for those of you who are here, I am going to be doing it at 11 o'clock next Saturday as well, Eastern time. So 11 o'clock, not midnight. And I think I'm liking it, and we'll see how it goes next week. If next week the flow goes the same way, then I think I'm gonna go ahead and change the banner, you know, on my channel from 11:55 to 10:55, and make that the new official time for the live stream. So as always, thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Be safe, get some rest. Yeah, because we're gonna do it all over again next week, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great night, bye. And here's the outro. Do you love your camera, but wish some of the buttons were easier to get to? This is how I fix the situation. I get out my trusty hot glue gun and apply a small amount of glue on the desired button. It makes any button easier to click. Also, it helps identify buttons without having to look. It's non-destructive and protects the text from wear and tear. Mr. Camera Junkie's tip of the day.